Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Team Check-In. I'm your host, Emre, and with me today, the Stephen King of resumes, if you will. That's how prolific this guy is.
Yeah, thank you. Oh
I
man, Emre,
have
you're doing this
Matt
already.
Warzel with me. I keep butchering last names on this show, so I hope I didn't.
You nailed it, and thank you so much for having me. And wow, I feel already at a higher status as I come into this, knowing that I am the Stephen King of resumes. No, I mean I love that. Honestly, I wouldn't claim that fame, but hey, if it could sell more resumes, come on through, people. I will help you guys. I know what I'm doing. Let's get you from A to Z quicker. 2 to 9 months is the average job hunt. Let's get you on the 2 month side. So hopefully some nuggets will get dropped today, and some job seekers will
Nice.
get work.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. The idea today is we are talking resumes, we are talking job interviews and job applications, but I feel like today we this is a great combination because what usually happens in the team check-in is we have a lot of huge HR professionals coming on the show, and it's mostly the human resources, like the interviewer side of things.
Mhm.
Right? So I
Yep.
think today with you, Matt, we're getting the full picture. We have the full picture now, which is awesome because it is a brutal world out there for people applying for job seekers. It's hell out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny you say that, because I always say that us career coaches are on the human services side versus the HR. So this is good.
Hmm.
You get a kind of a duality there, right? And HR
Yeah.
folks, they know what they want, they cut to the chase, but with them, there's a lot of variables and variance between their preferences. So I think us career coaches, if a good one that has been through the ringer like I have in my 20 years, um, we try to say, hey, let's get you presented as the most pragmatic, less is more way. And that's kind of the macro level thinking. How
Uh-huh.
can we get interested in you with the least amount of words, interactions, blah, blah, blah? Because it tends to fumble itself if you do too much or if you're trying to appease one person and the other personality doesn't like that. So if we can just be pragmatic, get to the point about why you offer value, um, anyone on the other end of the table should see that and want to talk to you, right? So just that'd be my first initial advice. Us versus HR is that we work together, but sometimes the HR people have different flavors versus a good career coach would says, hey, let's try to get everybody on board for this flavor and
Hmm.
kind of go.
I feel it. But before we get to like the A and the Z's of like the perfect resume and everything, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who would be the best like fiction or like best literary writer to write your resume? If you could, dead or alive, resurrect any writer from history to write your resume, who would it be?
Yeah. Ooh, probably maybe the smart brevity guys that do the morning is it no Axios. Sorry, they're the Axios guys. So I've been reading the smart brevity book, and
Mhm.
I love how they can capture a chunk of change and make it into like a couple pennies. And so essentially, um, what I do too is try to think of how can I eliminate words and make it like a screenplay. Every word matters on your resume.
Mhm.
So I would say it's a toss up between these guys I never met that are doing great work with like recreating the newsletter. And then I would say my first mentor back in the early 2010s when I went converted from recruiter to full-time writer slash coach, she got me into where I
Mhm.
understood the nuts and bolts of how to write a resume with that less is more theme. So Joelle, RIP, Joelle Malenich, she had passed, maybe 8 years ago now, but she was awesome. She'd be like, why are you using the word championed? Who the hell says that ever? Let's not be ambiguous or outsmart people or be cute, quirky, fancy, funny. Let's get to the point, make it very business minded and cause and effect, and you'll be in better shape. And so she molded me into kind of the writing style I have today, which even has changed since then, but slightly. She gave me a good ground, good base.
So the theme is less is more, right?
Always, yes.
So
It's too busy now. In 2002, you could have a whole spew of information because it was acceptable to have a dump of verbiage and saying, "Here's me in 20 years on a piece of paper." Nowadays, I just want to know what you've been doing the last 5 years, and I want to know how you wowed your employer and what the hell you did to get bottom line impacts, right? Make their life easier. And so it's a sales sheet now. It's not a catch-all anymore like it used to be.
So what do you mean, Matt? My summer interning at a frozen yogurt stand, it doesn't belong in my resume? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Not necessarily. Depends on every situation. Everyone's a different Lego set, different pieces,
Uh-huh.
colors, but they all have pretty much the same, right? I have a three banger with blue, and you have a three banger that's blue. But I'm
Mhm.
going to build it all differently, each of my clients. So, hey, if you want to go and be in the hospitality business, and that was the only thing you've had, we're going to emphasize some of that yogurt business stuff. But if you're an accountant and you've had plenty of information between your college job, we could start to let sleeping dogs lie and get those things off your
Yeah.
resume. But everyone's different, so it's never one all answer for anything. I need to see the
Hmm.
individual from a perspective of what they're offering me, you know, resume, LinkedIn, answers, addendums, put it all together like it's like again a Lego set, dump out the pieces, and then start building. And at that point, I'll decide what stays and goes. So I always highlight that with my clients is you won't know until you get the resume back of how I felt at that
Yeah.
time when I'm writing it.
And so I guess Tolkien wouldn't be a great resume writer, right? No?
No, too much, too many adjectives.
The
That would be
glorious time I spend like no, not
summary would
happening.
be the summary would be 9 pages. We didn't even get to the experience. That was a good example.
Yeah. Those Sundays I served yogurt colder than the freezing like waters of Hell Caraxay. Like, no, not happening.
Behold, the young woman with no money coming through to the doors. Like,
Yeah.
holy Nikes.
But to be honest, and I have a point. I'll try to get to a point. I somehow always stumble my way into a point. That summer interning at a frozen yogurt stand in the mall, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like a bit unrelated to everything. But if you can survive a busy Saturday in a mall, right? And if there are some sales, because if there are like some crazy like 70% sales or discounts going on, if you can run that yogurt shop successfully without breaking down, and if you can serve all those teeny boppers the right flavor, like without losing your head,
Mm-hmm.
there are some pretty essential skills in there, right? There are some pretty essential like personality aspects and skills in there. So isn't resume writing a lot about how you spin, how you like put a certain spin on stuff?
Absolutely. Connecting the dots is pretty much a lot of the bread and butter of why people pay me. One portion is how do you write the language and command it to a point where it's business minded, resume esque. The other side of that is, what's the ATS doing, the robots? How can you help me get through those? And then the final thing is exactly like you said. How do I connect the dots? And I do this a lot with like my military folks, right? They'll come out, got a bunch of acronyms, bunch of heavy artillery
Mm-hmm.
type tanks and all this stuff. And I go, whoa, you're a mechanic. You're an HVAC mechanic. Let's breathe a little and get this transferred into
Mm-hmm.
civilian language. So just from cause and effect of doing that so much, for me to say you're a supplier quality and you want to go be an accountant, well, here, let me look through your stuff and I'll figure out what's going to be relevant, right? Budgeting, maybe, or analysis. So
Mm-hmm.
find what those relatability factors are, those skills, achievements. And yeah, you want to marry those into the resume, depending on, again, what's the target audience going to think? So now, running a yogurt stand on a weekend is impressive, and especially if your mind is this, that of a 16, 17-year-old. But at the same time, I moonlight in film. I've got friends that made movies that took 3 months to make, and no one's
Mm-hmm.
hiring them because they are a great project manager, right? So everyone does hard work when they're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So the key is understanding what the level of difficulty is. And someone running a yogurt shop, I don't know, honestly, through the hell I've been through in my career, again, I mean, I used to do high school jobs too. It's not going to be as useful as you think. And again, it's okay. Now, if you want
Mm-hmm.
to go and be a manager, we're going to use some of that relatability. You were able to manage schedules, performances, customers, and money. But everyone's doing a lot of hard crap these days, right?
Yeah.
So give me more, because you might have been running a yogurt shop, but the guy next to you went and made a feature film that cost $2 million. There's a lot of intricacy in that. Again, it's night and day, but just for the sake of it, don't mention time management. Don't
Yeah.
mention project management because those are bland transferable skills. Give me hard skills that
Hmm.
aren't soft that we need to show off why you offer value to the next employer. And that's going to be the key of it. So everyone's a good communicator. Okay. We're
I
all
feel
going to
like
tell them.
everyone is a lifelong learner these days. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So give me more of those. So I agree with you. Yes, there is validity in that, but you
Hmm.
can't just give up and say, well, I'm a good time manager. Look at how much it's like, and conflict resolution. Well, come on, we all are, right? So dig in a
Hmm.
little further. Give me those hard skills. I mean, did you manage the money? Sweet. Now you got some P&L. That stuff's
Okay.
tangible from the yogurt shop, but not customer service. I mean, we all do customer service every day. I'm doing customer service right now with you, trying to be cordial and answer stuff. Hey, we did some customer transaction here, right? I mean, so we got to give me
Yeah.
some.
Yeah, you're doing customer service. You're trying to hold your nerve, like this guy asking me questions about
No,
Tolkien
no.
and yogurt stands. Gee,
No, not like that, but more
I've been
impact.
in I've been a career coach for 15 goddamn years, and this guy's asking me all these silly
It's a
questions.
yogurt shop, man. Couldn't he bring up JC Penny?
This guy
No,
and
no,
his dog.
you know what I mean? No customer interaction, right? Like we're all doing it every day. Hell, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
at the traffic light. I'm talking to someone probably, and I'm like, hey, there's some customer service. But yeah, dig in, get the deep, unique skills versus the one
Mhm.
99 other yogurt shop managers are going to have in the area, right?
Yeah. So I think this is a great place to actually tell the people about what it is that you exactly do. Now, I mean, I feel like most of our listeners will actually come in knowing who you are because you are a top voice on LinkedIn, if I'm not wrong, when it comes to career coaching and resumes and everything. So,
Thank
but
you.
can you
Yes.
just tell our listeners what it is that you exactly do?
Absolutely, and thank you for that little shameless plug that I was going to do. So I appreciate you handling it for me. No, yeah, the LinkedIn Top Voice was a surprise. That was awesome. I mean, I grinded my way to get there, but it finally
Hmm.
came fruition in January.
Hmm.
And yeah, essentially, career coach. I got 5 pillars I offer, right? So career coaching, which is essentially what do you do with the resume when you get done, right? It's kind of a job hunt training, if you will. Now, to get to the resume, we need to know what you want to do, and if you need that help, I can do that as well. Kind
Hmm.
of kind of figure out that succession plan for you that's pragmatic, but also going to give you a little bit of kicks, right? Something that gives you excited. So that's that kind of coaching, job hunting slash what's my
Hmm.
why. Number 2, resume cover letter. Number 3 is LinkedIn. Number 4 is interview training. And then number 5 is the self branding. So trying to get someone to update their LinkedIn profile. Now the hard part, what do we do with this thing? Because you can't let it be stale or you're not going to have much visibility. So that's that training of like, what can we do? What's the cadence look like? Who we talking to? What are we saying? That kind of all that, helping them with
Hmm.
that so they don't have to think. I like my clients not thinking. I want them to just react and then do the thinking when they're actually in the interview room or in communication with hire managers
Hmm.
versus how do I get in front of them? Well, just do my steps and you'll get in front of them.
Uh-huh. All right. So, I mean, you had your credentials. We established them. Here's the big question, right? I mean, we kind of touched up on this. Job seekers right now are facing a hellacious environment, right? If you ever see a job like opening on LinkedIn, a position, you see that number right next to like
Mhm.
500 people applied,
Yep.
and out of those 500 people, you know that 400 of them know how to make a pretty good looking resume using Canva or any other tool. And you know that like the HR people are only going to be like, they're going to filter until they end up with like 50 resumes that they have to actually read.
Mhm.
So in this environment, Matt, how does someone create a resume that somehow stands out?
Great question. So I put mine in 3 buckets, my content, to make sure my resume is doing what it should do. And coming from recruiting and understanding the inner workings of applicant tracking systems, just having engaged with them for so long, yeah, they're more sophisticated. There's more rules that they can apply. There's a
Hmm.
gatekeeper kind of esque type thing happening now. Now it's a quasi gatekeeper, like you said. Back in my day when I recruited, these things were just told you who applied overnight, and you have 150 people, you're going through each resume because it wasn't much. So
Mhm.
to play that game, you need first is content is king. It will never not be. Remember this, guys.
Mhm.
The simpler the resume format is, the more opportunities you're going to have to be seen by human eyeballs. The more chaotic you make it, the less opportunity because it's hard for computers to parse photos and borders and this and that and graphics. So use words, not photos and graphics and charts. Save that for an addendum. If you want to give them an infographic,
Mhm.
add it as a attachment. Don't make it your main resume submission because you may not get past the ATS, the robot. So first and foremost, keep it simple. Keep it simple in terms of your formatting, right? Mine is very much a linear kind of word dump, if you will, which is not a word dump, but in terms of just the language itself, it just runs linear. So, meaning there's no weird spacing and no weird indentations and stuff. It visually appealing still, right? Because still got to jerk the reader a little bit. But
Mhm.
having said that, one way you can test it is go to your resume, hit edit, select all off a Word, go open a text doc, make it HTML doc or not rich, whatever the regular one is. Not rich though. Make sure it's text, and then dump it into there. If it lines up where there's no jumbled words or missed sections all over the place, you're in good shape. Your resume will pass the ATS, right? So now the second set of that is getting the keywords to match what they're looking for, and that just comes down to humans going. Here's my resume, or here's my job description from the hiring manager. I'm a recruiter,
Mhm.
and I don't know what the hell an aerospace engineer does, but I can recruit this because I'm going to look through this and I'm going to find keywords that aren't going to be on a teacher's resume, aren't going to be on a maintenance manager resume, aren't going to be on a project
Mhm.
manager resume. They're only going to be on some aerospace engineers. And these are those think technical skills, processes, even some of the hard skills. But if you get too general, like sales, you're going to get a million people on your search, right? So think of the stuff that they're, and just use a job description for that. That's the number one spot
Mhm.
because that's what recruiters are using to lean on. Or you can go to LinkedIn, see what skills are on people's profile that are maybe a little bit higher up than you that you aspire to be, or the
Mhm.
role you're aspiring to be. Go look up some people that have some good visibility. Go down to their skill section. What are they writing, right? And also a good opportunity to upskill. What are you missing on? And that's the stuff you can see that you might need. But anyway, so that's the first thing is going to be playing the robots. Keep it simple with the format. Worry about the words and make sure that you do your little test to make sure your stuff is aligned with what it's supposed to be. Now, the content, and this is what people pay me because it's hard to take a paragraph and condense it into one sentence that sounds business minded and it grabs the reader's attention. So, and that's kind of a skill that I've learned over the years. So essentially,
Mhm.
what I'm doing, excuse me, I'm taking my content from these these clients that they're providing me, and I'm going to put in three
Mhm.
buckets. One, what's relatable. So I'm going to go and find five quality management jobs, and I'm going to highlight stuff that's similar to all of them between them all. Okay, those are the main role responsibilities. Then I'm going to reverse engineer those responsibilities, but not task them. I'm going to put a little onus on each of them. Yeah, I can do this, but here's how I did it in action, how I won that project, right? Successful projects that align with the job description. Easy, right? So that's the first bucket. Second bucket is going to be anything operational. So metrics, give me profits, productivity, efficiency, whatever. Get me excited about that. You care about money and time and improve continuous improvement, stuff like that.
Mhm.
The above and beyond kind of stuff. And then the third thing is anything unique. High profile clients, speeches, awards, media appearances. You were an Olympic track star for the, in Greece, the Olympics in Greece, whatever. Stuff that makes them go, oh, that's pretty cool. But keep it simple. Again, less is more for all this. I don't want a word dump. And so
Mhm.
essentially, when I take these three buckets of content, I throw them up in the air, and I start building that Lego set. And my goal is to build it with the least amount of pieces as possible. And that's the key. Don't waste their time because if you fill it with too much junk that isn't in those three buckets, or you run on sentences or you're jamming stuff in, you're going to lose their interest. They're humans and they need to be fed while you have some sort of value. You need to
Mhm.
control your perception from day one. Messaging, application, cover letter, resume, LinkedIn, everything needs to be showing off how much you want to get paid. If you're getting paid 150 grand a year, you best act like it in all your communications because they're judging you that rate from the beginning and through the interview. So walk softly, carry big stick. I use the old
Mhm.
presidential. That's how I say. Go into an interview room, walking softly, carry a big stick, and knowledge is power for interviews. If you understand what your background is as it relates to the job opening and can figure out why they have the job opening, which is a little trickier, uh, it'll make for a way better interview. And finally, like I said, less is more. When I write my resume with the 3 buckets of content, I put them in this cause and effect idea, right? I did this, here's the outcome. Did this, outcome. Your goal is to give them the resume as a meal. They eat it up, they love it, they bring you in to talk about the ingredients. That's where you fill in the middle stuff. Because most
Mhm.
people are so concerned about the hiring managers that they forget the recruiters don't know what the hell they're doing. Or the sourcers who probably don't have degrees are even less educated about what the hell they're doing. So, and then you got the robots, right? So you get all this hierarchy. Will appease everyone, not just the hiring managers. So you IT guys out there and ladies, get rid of the first 15 lines of your resume that has a bunch of spewed adjectives and acronyms. I don't care about migrations to the point of A769Z or save that for the interview. Just give me the fact that you migrated something on time within budget of a high quality, and we'll go from there, right? So understand that they need to be taught and trained what your perception that you're trying to put that as, right? You're trying to control it. So
Mhm.
handle it appropriately. Give them just enough to get them excited. Don't overwrite because you're going to lose a lot of the muster that might have gotten them convinced.
So that was just a great explanation. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
again, somehow sounds like all can be boiled down to less is more. But honestly, loved the whole bit about you got to get past the robots first. You got to get past the robots first, and
Mhm.
that's kind of crazy. That's a huge part of my job as well. I mean, for those who don't know, I'm on the marketing side of things, and the podcast, this is the fun part. Right? This is the fun part. The part
Yeah.
where I do the dance with Google's algorithm, not so
Mhm.
fun. Not so fun. Not so fun.
Good
Yeah,
point.
yeah. Also, a lot, actually, a huge chunk of this podcast listener base are made up of recruiters. So, uh, I just want to say that I don't agree with Matt. I know that you guys know what you're doing, right? And I will drop Matt's Twitter handle so you can all just like direct the outrage directly to him. Just, hey,
I'll tell you, I'll tell you one of my takeaways. They always go, "What do you want to take away the audience?" And I'll even end it right now with that. No, no, but I'll say I always say be easy on the HR recruiters because again, I was a former recruiter, and yes, half of my audience are boneheads that are recruiters that will negate you for misspelling a word. What the are you doing? This person's livelihood's at stake, and you're worried about the there. Give the guy a break. So
yeah,
I was on the recruiting side that I'll fix the issue before I hand it to the hiring manager because I want
uh-huh.
this person butt in my seat. But the other half of the recruiters that are very, I don't see it's like, move on. This guy or girl is good or bad. Decide it in the first 20 seconds, whatever, and move on. But if you're saying no because of little like nuances, like a missed period or something, you got a problem. And that's you waking up on a bad side of the bed. These are livelihoods at stake. I don't attention to detail. Come on, I've seen emails from execs that are misspelling. So
Mhm.
here's the deal with that, though. Is I would say be easy on them because it's not recruiters or hiring managers that are against you. They're recruiters. We start off saying every person that comes to us is a bonehead. And you're going to convince me that you're not a bonehead. And then I'll send you through. And the reason is because we've had so many people burning us, not showing up to
Uh-huh.
interview, going through the ringer, and then they say, I don't want the job and wasting our time, that now we become a little jaded. So if you're a recruiter out there, you probably understand this, where you go, okay, here's this person. They look like they could be a fit, but I don't trust them yet. And then you talk to them, have them convince you otherwise, and now I'm comfortable putting you to the hiring manager, right? So that's how I think us recruiters, for the majority, do our work. Is that it's not our fault. We've just been burned so much that we got to take time, right? So, and that time is expensive. So when you're hiring someone,
Mhm.
background check, reference checks, interviews, drug tests, induction and training, and then the guy or girl quits in 6 months, that pisses us off as recruiters. So we don't want to do that again, right? And hiring managers
Yeah.
are yelling at us because who the hell is this person you found? So our job's on the line too in some cases, right? So that's the idea: is be nice to them because they're just trying to do their job right. Because job seekers, they're so needy. I was a job seeker. How needy are we? This job, this location, this pay, half a commute. this benefits. I wanted this, doing this work with these people and this kind of a call. It's like, woof, so walk softly, carry a big stick, show them you have the value in the interview room, and then worry about the benefits on the end. Don't ask about money on the first interview.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack there. Maybe ease up on the coffee, my man. Just
You got me jacked up.
No, that's awesome. And I gotta say, you're just calling it like you see it, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I think
Nice.
all my experiences recruiting, I was the exact opposite. Every single interview I went into as the recruiter, I went in, this is the one. Every
Oh,
sing every single time, like, okay, this is the ideal candidate. Let's see what kind of mistakes they can make to just fall off of the pedestal. Just going in. Uh, I'm such a good customer. I'm such a good customer. Whatever a resume sells to me, I buy it. I buy
yeah.
it. I I see lifelong learner in there. I believe it. Oh yeah, I know this guy's a lifelong learner. That's it. And
Do
I'm
you?
the same way with ads. If you show me an ad saying, "Hey, this fried chicken will change your life," I mean, let's go. I'm ready to have my life. I'm the perfect customer when it comes to
Do you?
those things.
Did you recruit the candidate or did you recruit the requisition? That's the key right there. That separates a good recruiter from a poor recruiter.
No,
In my experience, I always recruited the candidate because if you recruit the candidate, you put them in a pipeline. You recruit the
mhm,
requisition, you're going to be chasing constantly.
yeah. It all. I mean, we are kind of acting. We're just doing like X's and O's, ones and zeros. It's so complicated, right? It's
Oh yeah,
so hard. I mean, just the sheer fact of like, hey, we're recruiting this person, but are they going to be cool to work with? And that's so intangible. That's
yeah.
so intangible. And that's for like the next step. That's for like the
That's hiring
interview, right?
management. Yeah, that's
That's
hiring
where you
management.
show, hey, because I mean, if they've invited you for an interview, that means, hey, these people believe in your resume. They know that you have
Yes.
those skills. Now they want
Hmm.
to get to know you. Like, are you a cool person to hang out with? Are you going to fit in to their office? I mean, whenever I recruited someone, I said, hey, this is a potential coworker, right? I'm going to be spending a lot of time with this person. And that was huge. That was just a huge side of all the job interviews I conducted.
100%. I tell my clients the same thing. I go, the recruiter is the one seeing if you can do the job. The hiring managers want to make sure that you have the personality, right? And
Hmm.
can you make our life easier type of thing. And so that's why I tell when the clients get their interview, I'm like, that's the Willy Wonka golden ticket. You're halfway there. They don't waste an hour of their time because they want to hang out and just kind of see if you're okay. It's because they think you're it, and you and two other people are it, and let's which one's the coolest kind of thing. I mean, cool's not a cool's like how we are, our generation, but essentially just even keeled, gonna do the work
Hmm.
right, gonna go above and beyond, gonna be able to handle stuff if I throw it at them, be resilient. Those types of like, and there's your soft skills. But that's
Hmm.
kind of what they are. They're looking for someone to join a team that they're going to see for 40 hours plus a week and make sure they don't want to wring their neck. So that's why I tell them when you're going for the interview room, be yourself, but don't get too casual because they're still strangers. They ain't trying to have martinis with you day one.
Hmm.
So don't get loose.
And switching things up to the opposite side of it, I mean, uh, I think the efficiency of a recruiting process, right? The candidates you get, everything, it also depends very heavily on the job description and like the opening you post online, right? How
Yeah.
important is like the defining the responsibilities, requirements, everything the organization in the job description? Like, what is the ideal job posting for you, in your opinion?
The ideal mine would be a hiring manager that cares enough to take the time to work with me to develop the job description rather than just throwing me stuff I could pull off of Google. Although
Hmm.
back then it was a little a little different, but I haven't recruited since 2012. But having said that, nowadays you can really use some of this AI, and so I would say just making sure that you get the hiring manager to understand because remember us recruiters sometimes you're against the hiring manager, right? Sometimes they hate you. They hate dealing with HR. They hate dealing with recruiters. They don't want to meet you on Thursday at 4 to go over resumes. It's fine. You're not have to be friends with all of them. Some are cooler and you can actually gel with. I've had hiring managers that hated HR, right? So every time I go in there, it's like battling. Well, it's like, well, you're the one who needs this role filled, so let's work together, right? So if I was, if I was a recruiter, I would say just make sure you develop good rapport with your hiring managers, and the rest will go seamless. As far as writing an actual job description, just make sure you're not missing anything. I mean, that's all I could say, because job descriptions are, if it's an entry level admin, you're probably not going to have too much of something to have to go through. But if it's a C-suite, on the technical side, running a certain portion of your business lines, okay, well, what does that entail? Because that's going to be a lot longer, right? So let's get all the juice, but make sure the good stuff's bumped up to the top. Because if it's just a little portion of the job, I ain't putting that in bullet point number 2, right? Keep it, keep that as a preferred. But make sure those mandatories, make sure those are rocking. Because if they need a BS because your insurance company mandates it, I can't recruit anybody without a BS. It's just what it is. Technical or law wise, it is what it is, right? So got to just make sure the hiring managers are with you on that one. And that just comes that rapport building with them. Maybe go out and actually have lunch with them instead of just worried about talking about recruiting. Maybe just go, hey, you like fishing? Try to do some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Wait, let's wait for my dog to stop pacing. Jack, is everything okay, buddy?
I'm a recruiter, right, Dad?
Yeah. My neighbor probably took their dog out for a walk. Whenever my neighbor's dog Cookie goes out for a walk, Jack gets excited. But yeah, he took off on a quite sweet spot. But Matt, do you know what's a great way to come up with a job description and like competencies and responsibilities for a job? Imagine this, right? You have a performance management software. You're already using it. It's in Microsoft Teams or Outlook. It's on your like main platforms. And you say, hey, scan my organizational chart. You tell the AI, hey, scan my entire org chart. And the software already has it because it's fully integrated into Microsoft Azure AD or an Entra ID. Scans your entire org chart like that, comes up with competencies, responsibilities, and job descriptions for each position you have. Now, wouldn't that be cool? And you guessed it, it is cool because that's exactly what Teamflect can do for your organization like that. And on top of that, we're talking goal setting, recognition, task management, performance reviews, all so simple. So if you want to give this a try for absolutely free, you can just go to the Teamflect website or schedule a 15-minute demo. Just go right ahead. I have to do this. I'm contractually obligated to shamelessly plug.
I had one of these a couple weeks ago. I'm used to it. I'm starting to get used to it. Hey, no qualms off of my back. Go for it, guys. I don't need the software, but maybe one of you guys do.
I mean, what I also love is I like to sneak the plug in and just watch the face of the guest just change. Oh, he's doing it. Like,
hey, man, that's what the branding's all about. I told who was I telling? God, I forgot. Maybe one of my buddies, or I don't even remember, neighbor. But I go, I wouldn't even be on social media if I didn't have to pimp my stuff out everywhere. Because that's just what it is, man. I mean, it's free and it's out there, and you put yourself in your own unique voice. But man, it's hard. It's not easy, and not only that, I just don't like social media. I think they freaking, it's just becoming such its own little problem. So
it's not it's not the low consequence place where you just posted like, here, hey, look, this is what I'm eating. This is my croissant. It's not that anymore, right? Everyone's just building their own brand. But like, I'm not going on Instagram to like see brands. Like, yeah, sure. Like, I mean, LinkedIn is kind of different. Now, LinkedIn, you can't treat like Facebook. You kind of have to. You have to be someone else on LinkedIn, and we can do an entirely different episode on people's personalities on LinkedIn. If I have to see another post saying, I am so happy to announce. Yeah. And I'm guilty of doing the same thing. Of course, there are lots of things that I'm very happy to announce all the time. But speaking of what we do, I wasn't always a marketer. I'm a literature major. I did a lot of teaching. I was like a middle school, high school teacher. And at some point I said, okay, I need to do something else with my life, and switched lanes big time, headed into marketing, and somehow I'm doing all right. But I do feel like a lot of it was luck. I got lucky at a lot of different points. because
Okay.
we talked about having your resume seen by people, just fooling those robots and everything. And again, I'm getting to my point. How do you switch careers and make your resume look appealing? I feel like that's a huge question. I feel like that's a big question for people because if you are changing careers, if you're making a drastic point, if you're making a drastic change in your career, how do you still keep your resume appealing for the new lane you're heading into?
Yeah, good question. So again, that's the relatability and connecting the dots, like I mentioned earlier. So you just got to have someone either help you or you got to go do your investigatory research as to what do I need to package myself as a viable candidate for this new me.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes down to, I mean, if you have any inkling of what it is, write down exactly what you think it is, right? And then go either get an informational interview with someone that's been doing it, or go on Google and Google yourself nuts and chat GPT yourself nuts until you got your head wrapped around this role. But I
Mm-hmm.
have an actual post I always kind of lean on when the LinkedIn people write something about it, career transitioners. And I just say, short term, I say internalize, visualize, realize. You want to internalize what you're doing and what you want to do. You want to visualize where you're going to go and how you might
Mm-hmm.
get there, and then realize it is just getting at it. And so that visualized part is going to be it's very important because now we have to truly understand, am I missing a certification? Am I missing that actual degree? What are people doing from the bare bones minimum to get into that role? And now what are the skills required, technical, process, and hard skills? And I'm going to go and upskill like what, so I can get
Mm-hmm.
just enough to be an entry level viable candidate. Now you may have some transitioners that are fortunate enough to go in an industry where they welcome freshmen, we'll call it, or fresh
Mm-hmm.
people, where they're not jaded or built with bad habits coming in, like Aerotech, where I cut my teeth as a recruiter. They didn't want people coming in as from former recruiters. They wanted everyone coming as a new recruiter never did before because they can train us. So depending on, again, it's one of those questions where there's not an answer for everybody. It's more of what is it that you're trying to do. If you're going to go try to be a PGA golfer, I can't help you because all I know about that is you got to be on the range for 15 hours a
Mm-hmm.
day, practicing each and every part of your thing, and you do that for 5 years, and then we can talk. But if you want to go and just be an accountant, well, now I can help you because that takes a few different types of continuing education and a few different types of upskilling, but nothing too out of the normal, right? So again, if you need that help, lean on people like us that can connect the dots. But that's what it comes down to is I'm trying to have someone pay me money to do something. That's a daunting thing. That's a daunting
Yep.
thought. So if I want Joe Schmo to open up their check account to let Jane Doe here, who's never done this kind of work before, I better have a damn convincing story. So get to the point where you can actually back up your convincing story. No, I can do accountancy. In fact, look at this. I just did 2 years here, got that degree, did this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking, right? So sometimes it's not just a throw up my arms. I'm done being in warehousing. I'm going into finance and then trying to get a job by using your warehousing resume. You ain't gonna ever get a
Mm-hmm.
job. So you got to make sure you're playing the game right, which is first worry about you and upskilling to get value where people actually pay you, a stranger, to do something for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then worry about how you're going to succeed in that and have succession and grow and become someone who's actually a subject matter expert eventually.
It's all storytelling, isn't it? You're painting a picture, you're telling a story, and you're trying to tell the story of the perfect candidate for this job.
Yeah,
And I mean, you have like your side characters of the gigs and everything, but you're just trying to spin it in to the perfect way and just the perfect story for them to buy. And I do feel like human resources being all about different stories and people's storytelling skills actually making a difference in the field called human resources, it makes a lot of sense, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And again, they're humans. So if you were someone in that position, how would you feel about someone coming to you with warehousing information and you're hiring
Mm-hmm.
for an account? You're going to be like, nah, this isn't correlating with what I'm looking for. So just, have some empathy for the other side of the table and understand what they're looking for in an ideal candidate, i.e., look at a job description and then get at it so you can get all these skills under your belt if that's what you really want to do.
Well, I mean, Matt, we're already like 40 minutes in. A great episode of the show. And
Nice.
I feel like we had like these peaks and crescendos where it just turned into this like motivational thing and just get after it.
Yeah, buddy. No, anytime. We could definitely do this again and tackle LinkedIn, tackle interview training.
Oh,
Um, anything,
I'd
so
love to do a whole episode where we just roast LinkedIn on it. Just
yeah,
that would be fun.
yeah,
But
man.
yeah, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. And any before we say goodbye to our listeners, anything you want to plug?
I love recruiters. Sorry, I meant no. Check out jobstickers.com if you want to find me.
Uh-huh.
Jobstickers.com, like pot stickers, your favorite appetizer. And at jobstickers.com, if you want to reach out to me, mention the episode. I'll give you a free resume review as well as my backdoor workarounds for LinkedIn, which we can use as our basis for our conversation next time.
All right. That's awesome. And if you're listening to us, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts, leave us a like, subscribe. It really helps the show out. And if you're looking for, I messed the end card up. Damn it. But if you're listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, leave us a like, subscribe. It really helps the show out. And if you want to give the best performance management software in the Microsoft ecosystem, Teamflect, a try, you can always click the link in the description. That's about it. Will I edit the ending? I don't know. Depends on how tired I am by the end, to the time we're done. Matt, thank you for coming. This has been the Team Check-In. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye bye.